Welcome to another episode of the Minority Voice. I'm your host, Jeff Vega, and I'm looking forward to this episode because we're going to talk about something our founding fathers put together, and it has to do with the Second Amendment. And Dave, this past weekend, you was at a 2A rally. Is that right?
Yeah, I was.
How many speakers was out there?
There had to be at least 15 or 20,
And
probably more.
how many people packing guns was at this event?
I would say at least 50+% you could actually see their gun.
Okay,
So,
and how many people were there? About 700, I heard.
yeah, quite a few hundred for sure.
Anybody get shot?
No, I don't think anyone got shot.
So that's pretty amazing,
Yeah.
you know.
No stabbings either, nothing.
Oh, okay, all right.
No,
Second Amendment rally, all these guns hanging around, and nobody shot, nobody intimidated. It's amazing, folks. When law-abiding citizens get together, it's not an issue. It seems like with the Second Amendment, it's an issue with criminals. And you know what? It's illegal for a criminal to own a gun or even have a gun in its presence, his or her presence for that matter. But let's take a step back. And, you know, it seems like when somebody mentions the Second Amendment, the first thing they do, those who are against it, is say mass shootings. Why do you need a 40, 50, 100 round clip? But Dave, if you would, let's put the wording of the Second Amendment up so people can see it. And I'll read it to you. It says, a well-regulated militia, comma, being necessary to the security of a free state, comma, the rights of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And if you notice, I emphasize those commas because it was a continuous flow of the amendment, the sentence, if you will. And that's important because, you know, they didn't break. And I'm not an English major, so I can't tell you all the intricacies of the purpose of commas and periods, but I do know it was a continuous flow. But what I want to ask you today, those of you who have an issue with the Second Amendment, is to take time to actually read this, study it, and decipher it, if you will. Because I think it's very important to understand something here. These amendments that the founding fathers put in place were rights that they felt was needed for the individuals. Because you know what? Unlike any other constitution, any other country before, our country is based upon the individual's rights, okay? Not the government's rights. And I know some people want to give the government more rights, but our founding fathers realized, you know, there was a tyrannical king who put his will on our nation at that time. It wasn't a nation, they were a colony of England. And he pretty much did whatever he chose to do to the colonists. And so our founding fathers realized, okay, you know, we're going to put together a new nation. We want to make sure that the individuals have rights. And let me step back here. You know, something unique. When they penned the Declaration of Independence, not only did they say that they were going to break away from England, but they listed their grievances, why they were doing what they were doing. And if I'm not mistaken, was it 26 or 28, Dave?
28?
I don't remember. Sorry. I don't remember either. Anyways, but they listed them. And so, you know, it was important that, you know, the king knew this is why they were doing what they were doing. And so because of that, our founding fathers put these amendments in place. And the Second Amendment was put in place for our protection against a tyrannical government, all right? First and foremost, if you look down through history, of the mass genocide by nations to its people, it came as a result of the people not being able to defend themselves. And as a result, the government is able to come in and massacre millions. And you look at China, you look at Russia, the Ottoman Empire, even in Venezuela right now, Cuba, the mass genocide that has taken place there with the people. And so you see, when you look at this, understand this is really about a right that is granted unto you, okay? Do you really want to forfeit your right, give your right up because of a handful of people who legally should not be able to possess firearms? And you know, when you start talking about, you know, the 40 clips, semi-automatic, and things like that, you're really missing the point that the founding fathers was putting in place, and that was for your right, for your protection. And you see, when you don't have those rights, then you're subject to the will of the government. And a perfect example is what has went on with COVID, on how the government has, you know, stripped away a lot of our rights. And I know there's a lot of users that will say, you know, well, this COVID was this or that, and it was dangerous. And you know, here's the thing you hear: follow the science. Well, you know, what is the science? You know, now we're finding out something new every day on how the science was faulty. But I digress. Let me get back to the Second Amendment. You see, you'll always be able to explain yourself away, but I want you, as I mentioned earlier, to actually take the time to look at it, read it, analyze it, study it. And you know what? Here, let me put a challenge to you. When I was in high school, I was on the debate team. And one of the things that we did for our training, if you will, was we would have to defend both sides of an issue. And one of the things that I learned was that, you know, how to win the debate, not necessarily have the right answer, but it was about how to win it. You know, because in a debate, there's usually a right side and a wrong side, if you will. And so when you're on the wrong side, you have to learn to win the debate by deflecting the issues that strengthen the issue. And then when you look, so what I'm asking you to do is take the time now and read it and ask yourself, how would I defend this as my rights? And then when you do that, you'll actually begin to have to look at it in a realistic way and see the value of it. And so, because you know, these rights that were given to us have stood the test of time. And you know what? Time doesn't change truth, okay? And so, just as I said, take the time, study it, look at it, and maybe you'll grow from that. And until next time, Joshua 24:15.